But we do have viewers, so hopefully the viewers can hear me. Hi. Let me see if it's me or if it's you. Say hi in the chat if you can hear me. If these birds are watching me. Definitely could be my network. Okay, I'm gonna add Kathryn and darling. I don't see your camera yet. It's a rough start to the stream. It definitely could be my network. Yeah, it says it's having trouble.
Everything's working good from my end.
All right, I'm gonna refresh. I'm gonna try again.
Hello.
We'll get Alyssa back in a second. She's refreshing herself. She's having technical difficulties this morning.
Man, all of us. I was trying to get on and like got logged out of StreamYard at the last minute and was like scrambling.
Right,
Alyssa sent me the link. I was just like, oh my goodness.
I am going to cross my fingers and say I'm having actual good luck this morning. Everything seems to be smooth.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, people. Welcome back to Code Live, and it's a Wednesday. Yeah, it's a Wednesday. So I hope you're having a good day. It's a big day for us because our second big release of the year just dropped, and all four of us are here to kind of unpack what's in it. I have had, I caught the tail end of a cold from my kid. You know, kids are great, germ carriers. And between yesterday afternoon and today, I bought a big bottle of cough syrup, and it's empty. So I may have gone a little over the dosage. So if I fall asleep, this is going to be my excuse. But Alyssa, are you back? Can you hear us? No, you cannot hear us yet. All right.
She's working on it.
She's working on it. Yeah, so we are your hosts for the day. That's Ed, me, Alyssa, and Kathryn. All right. Yeah, so she's working on stuff. In the meantime, let's share screen and get going. Looks like our friends are joining. Alyssa's back, I think. We're going to add her.
We have multiple.
Oh, now we got two Alyssas. Hold on.
I'm not sure the internet can handle this.
Please remove my doppelganger. She's not welcome here. Hey, Mr. Magoo.
Hey.
Oh my God. I don't know if that did you all do an intro? Because I definitely did an intro, and I don't know if it was streamed or not. Because you guys were like,
no, you redo your intro.
You were kind of just so
we're getting robot Alyssa. At least I am.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna go restart the modem. I'll be back. Keep the show going.
All right. I'm gonna try sharing my screen. In the meantime. All right. Yeah. Where is my browser? There is my browser. All right. Let's start unpacking this, folks. So for
zoom in a little bit there, Sam.
What's that?
Zoom in a little bit.
Oh, zoom in. Okay. Yeah, I will. So why is everything a little bit off? Oh, there you go. So for those of you who use our UI, our productivity tools, our design and anything from us, really, you may already know this, but for those of you who are new, we are talking about mostly Telerik and Kendo UI components, and Fiddler and reporting and other components that go kind of hand in hand with the UI side of things. And some of the products, they get like they're on a continuous delivery cadence, especially things that are cool, like what Kathryn and Alyssa deal with. Me and Ed are kind of old school, so we wait for the big releases. We got 3 big ones in a year, but some of the products you get, much more frequent releases. But this one's the big release that just dropped like an hour back. So it's all live, and if you use our bits, you can go get those newest bits right now. And however you get it, like npm or NuGet packages for .NET developers, JavaScript folks, you have your npm packages. However you get it, or you have installers that you want to download the bits through. However you get it, everything that we talk about here, it's all live, so you can go and get it.
Our Blazor ships several times throughout the years.
Yeah. So everyone's cool except for me, and I get it. I'll own it. Yeah, mobile and desktop, we don't ship that often because we need things to work, unlike the web folks. All right, so let's try to unpack a little bit. So just so you know, this is just us, hanging out and trying to, unwrap everything that's in the release. We do have 3 formal webinars that are coming up where we will do this a little bit more formally. I will get rid of my hat, and that's the one day of the year I put on some gel on my hair. And all of that is coming up later this week and into next week as well. So we start out with June 8th, that's tomorrow. So Ed and me will be on for the web, desktop, and mobile. Can someone bring in Alyssa? Oh, no, that's actually Cindy joining. Hey. Hey, Thindle is here. Hello, Thindle. Kathryn and Ed, can you do the honors of highlighting or doing things with the chat room while I'm sharing screen? So hello, Thindle. So we are doing a webinar tomorrow. That's Ed and me. That's our Telerik R2 release webinar. And then when is yours, Kathryn? Oh, the day after, right?
It's just Friday.
Yeah.
Yep.
Look at our Nightbots working with things down at the bottom. Yeah. And Cindy, by the way, thank you for all of this. So Cindy is our social media magician who makes us look good, whatever we do. The Kendo UI release webinar, that's all things Angular, React, Vue, and for older people like me who use jQuery. All of the Kendo UI stuff is coming up on June 9th, Friday. And then we come back on next Monday again on June 12th. This is, not as cool or, sexy as some of the other things, but it's so critical to, enterprise workflows. We'll talk about reporting, mocking, and Fiddler for your debugging. So, big portfolio of products release kind of touches everything. So we're going to try doing some justice. We stand on the shoulder of the giants who, bring us this release, our engineers, our PMs. So that's all we will cover. And today is just a Twitch stream where we try to unpack this. And before we start, I actually did like, we say this on across, several of the webinar pages. Like we have a, theme, a tagline for every release. I actually did like what we came up with this, which is, pretty standard in what we do, but just you can see where the focus areas are. So Progress Telerik or Progress Kendo enables dev teams to create modern digital experiences with tools for improved performance. So that's big on our agenda, improved performance. Increased adaptability, so how we render things across platforms and how things are responsive. Efficient UI styling and customization, and high-value components. So pretty generic what we do, but it kind of tells you where our hearts and minds are this release. So Kathryn, Ed, I'm the only one speaking. Anything you folks find fancy in this release?
Ed, you're still on mute.
Telling Kathryn, I said, we have a new design system.
Yes, we have some incredible new design-related goodies that came out as part of this release. And not just one thing either, but 2 or 3 things, right? Probably the biggest and most interesting, I think, is the addition of our new design system documentation. So there's this whole website with all sorts of really great, really useful information about how you can create your own design system on top of all of our Kendo and Telerik products, and guides to help walk you through that, and resources you can leverage to do that easier and faster. The team put a lot of work into it, and it really shows. It's some really fantastic docs. So we got that. We have a ThemeBuilder Figma plugin now. So if you're using our Figma kits, and you've got designers that have been working on the Figma side, those can now be imported right into ThemeBuilder. And so you'll get all of those design tokens that were designed in Figma now in ThemeBuilder, making that kind of handoff even easier. And a bunch of our components got mobile adjustments, so they'll look much better on small screens. I don't know how much of that actually happened on the Telerik side, but I know.
A lot did.
Did it happen? Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm mostly familiar with the Kendo stuff, obviously, but I know definitely in KendoReact and Kendo UI for Angular, and evidently it sounds like on y'all's as well. We got a whole bunch of updates to make components render like much better on super small screens. I see your question. Can we use Tailwind for the design system or ThemeBuilder? You can, with the design system, you can use Tailwind with all of our components and that kind of stuff. With the ThemeBuilder is a little bit different. For folks that might not be familiar, ThemeBuilder is a piece of software that helps do kind of what you see is what you get style editing of components. So it'll show you kind of what a component looks like, and you can go in and make visual adjustments, and then it will generate the CSS for you. So Tailwind, probably not really necessary in that kind of situation. But if you wanted to roll your CSS from scratch, Tailwind does play nice with our components.
Okay. So we have a lot to unpack here. Like you kind of see the focus areas. So design system, adaptability, cross-platform delivery, and new components. And how do we want to do this? So do we want to do the old school stuff like mobile and desktop first, and then I give it to all of the web stuff?
With that. Alyssa, okay. I'm getting chats from Alyssa that she's having some difficulty reconnecting. Okay. So I think start with y'all. Push us to the end.
Start with the old, and then we'll get to the new. I like it. And I mean, so not... for I was going to say, like, for the Telerik webinars, Ed always goes first. So I feel like this is my opportunity to jump ahead of the line. All right. So we'll wait for the web stuff and all the design things. And Kathryn, I'm hoping you can actually show us some of these things, like the new documentation page for design systems. I would love to see that.
Yeah, I think actually it just got linked in the chat, but I will definitely make sure I can get my screen going and share some of that and do a little like Telerik Figma demo. Or not Telerik, but yeah, Telerik also, whatever. ThemeBuilder Figma is what I meant to say. But
cool. All right, so let's start with the old school things first, which is, it's new because it's in your pocket. It's mobile we're talking about, and desktop runs your businesses. So I get the opportunity to go first, and I'm going to use it to show off some really cool things that we have done. So when we talk about mobile and desktop, it's a lot of different products that we're talking about, especially in the .NET side of the family, because everybody has a choice of how you want to build those apps. So if you're going mobile with .NET, then you really have two choices, Xamarin and .NET MAUI. So Xamarin is, the way we, still do build .NET apps for iOS and Android. But there is kind of an end game in sight now. Xamarin is being officially supported until next year, mid next year. And the evolution of that is already out. That's .NET MAUI that brings on not just mobile, but desktop as well. So, for folks who are on Xamarin, you're fine right now, but it's, probably time that you should start thinking about, upgrading or migrating to .NET MAUI. You can reuse a lot of your code base, but now you're adding on desktop as well. And we want to be very careful, how we do desktop, because the same UI components for the first time, Telerik grids and charts for the first time work on mobile and desktop as well. So there's something to be said about how we render things between mobile and desktop. For hardcore desktop developers, you have had a choice of WinForms or WPF or WinUI, and those are still going strong. In fact, some of the things we'll talk about, they run. Ed and me are old, and so this is not lost on us. WinForms started back in 2002, right? And WPF started back in 2006. So 15 and 20-year-old platforms running on the latest .NET runtimes, .NET 8. And, we got .NET 8 Preview 4 support. .NET 8 is not out until November of this year, but it just kind of impresses me that you can run WinForms and WPF on .NET 8 and most of the modern .NETs. So that's pretty incredible. We have document processing, which is our way of handling spreadsheets, PDFs, and Word documents all across desktop and mobile. So that's a separate .NET library, and whatever we do in there benefits all of our .NET suites. So a lot of things that are cool and fun that we released this release. Obviously, .NET MAUI is the center of the attraction for all things mobile. And, we are actually seeing a lot of customers who are doing desktop first with .NET MAUI. So .NET MAUI evolved from Xamarin. And so iOS and Android are kind of given, but, desktop is a very, formal and well placed citizen. And Alyssa is trying to join. So yeah, you folks feel free to bring her in. I see Aztec. Hello, Aztec. Yeah, I don't know how much partying I'm doing with my voice today. I'm recovering from a cold. This is the design system that we talked about, and Kathryn is going to bring that out and show us all of that. But I'm starting off with mobile and desktop here. Alyssa, are you ready to come on? Hold on, I'm going to try to see. Yes, there you are.
Hi. This is as on as I can be right now. I'm working on the other, but hi.
All right. So yes, and then Alyssa dabbles a lot with .NET MAUI as well. So a lot of things that we did. Happy release day. Aztec, this is, as hot off the press as it gets. The bits are out as of like this morning, and the release blog posts just came out like an hour back. In a pretty short turnaround for us, the release got pushed back a week or so. So, kids are starting to get out of school and we have our summer travels. So it's a quick turnaround for us this time around. All right. So MAUI, we got 6 brand new components. That's not something we do every release, but you can see the focus on .NET MAUI here because we are trying to serve 2 sets of customers. One is people who have, had Xamarin and you're building for mobile apps and you're trying to migrate over, make sure everything works for your iOS and Android. And then we have customers who are doing desktop first, right? And these are folks who have no interest in mobile right now, maybe a year or 2 down the line, but it's the same code base. It'll just, start lighting up on mobile. So a lot of folks are doing this as their desktop first story. So we are trying to cater to both. So we have a brand new calendar UI component. Calendars are particularly, pesky and hard to do because you have to cater to iOS and Android and Windows and Mac. So it's a native calendar. It's going to look native on whichever platform that you are, that you're on. It's got a variety of display modes between year, month, decade, century, if you want. You can have selection modes of, how much you select, single days or multiple days or a date range with min and max. And a lot of it is completely customizable, like how the navigation looks like, how the headers, how the templates drive, how the calendars look like. So all of the styling is very, flexible. This was heavily, requested. It's a PDF viewer because, enterprise workflows need to handle PDFs and be able to open them up, so you're preserving the context that the user is in, not having to jump off to a different app or have them install something else. It's a way for you to just pull up a PDF right inside of your mobile or desktop apps. So it's a full-on PDF viewer, has a toolbar that's very customizable for users to do additional like shortcut things. Zooming, different types of document sources, like it could be a remote document or something that's embedded in your app or read up from a file stream. You can have command support with all of the MVVM stuff if you want, and single page or continuous scrolling support. very flexible styling APIs. So heavily requested feature, PDF viewer, it's now out. Chatbots, AI drives so much of things around us, and we are bringing some of that. We've had this a little bit in Xamarin Forms, but this one's a little bit more grown up. So it's conversational UI, but essentially a chatbot UI. So think about how many support people or travel agencies are deploying chatbots, where that's your first touch point with folks at a company. A lot of it can be automated, or maybe you're building a chat room. So this is for all of that, and it connects with easily integrates with any or most of the common chatbot frameworks that you might have. So think about the Azure chatbots, or from Amazon, or any of the Lex or any other services. It integrates perfectly with any of that. Essentially, what we're trying to do is give you that UI. So your avatars, if you have like different types of pickers that you want to choose, or you want to throw in a calendar, so it's for any of those extra UI things, like when people are typing in a chatbot, so you know exactly what's going on. So that's conversational UI. Again, we have had it for Xamarin. Now it's coming over to .NET MAUI, and we are working on a few demos with ChatGPT and other backends as well. But this is the front end, so it integrates with anything that you might have. We have a new slide view component. This is essentially like a gallery view in a carousel, and so you hit left on right, and it kind of scrolls through, lets you showcase heavily visual content. And it's good for navigation. It's completely template driven, so you can customize it to your heart's content. Command support, virtualization is big. Anytime we have list views or grids or charts or slide views, you are not recommended that you bring in like 100,000 records on the client side and try to bind to it. But if you do, we don't want to hold you back. Still wants to we want to give you that smooth scrolling. So everything is virtualized. So we try to bind to like 100 at a time, and then as you scroll through, we bind to the next 100 and so on. So all of that is done. Rich text editor. Again, these are things that are kind of desktop leaning. I don't know how much of this you want to do on mobile. Maybe some of it, like especially HTML editing, you can get away with it nicely on mobile form factors as well. But this is very much keyboard and mouse type support. So full featured rich text editor. Bring in your tables, bring in your images, your list of things, and be able to edit all of that without ever leaving your app. So it's a rich text editor. That's all nice and done for your desktop apps mostly. Tree view, again, heavily requested for all of the desktop scenarios, because you want to bind to a data set that's your organizational chart, or different types of blog content, and you have like a hierarchy of things. This is perfect because it lets you bind to all of that, has child and parent relationships, expand and collapse, has all types of animations, different types of selection modes. So really, really flexible tree view, and it's all done. Data grid. This is what we are kind of known for. Everybody uses the data grid, whether it be mobile or desktop. Apps start out having a list of things that you want to throw to the user, and be able to edit that list, be able to sort, filter, group, and do all types of data manipulations on that. So grid is full featured, but if you bind it to a data set, and then the user has like edit rights, maybe you can start deleting things, and eventually you might not have anything left in the data set. So if it's if your data set is empty, then we have like an empty template as well that shows you, hey, your grid is empty because your bound collection is now empty. We have data table support now. So the grid is really, really full featured, and this is the first time we have a grid that's a Telerik UI grid that works seamlessly across mobile and desktop. And again, that's not something we say lightly, because it takes a lot of work between touch and mouse and keyboard support. So we are very conscious of how we rendered the data grid correctly between iOS, Android, and Windows and Mac. So going forward, you can see like .NET 6 support. This, I mean, you kind of see the support or kind of the writing on the wall here. .NET 6 support for .NET MAUI kind of ended in May for Microsoft. So we're going to give you a little bit more time until like maybe this November, so you can get off .NET 6 and get on .NET 7. And hopefully you are looking at .NET 8 as well, which is when .NET 8 is going to come out this November. .NET 8 also has the LTS support, so that's long-term support. So enterprises have a little bit more confidence, going into .NET 8, because you have support for 3 years solid. All right. Geez, I feel bad doing all the speaking with Ed and Kathryn and Alyssa around. Do any of this look exciting to you folks, or is it just me?
.NET 8 support.
Yeah.
Get that across the board.
This is fun.
Have
I
you
don't
been
usually
dabbling
get to
with
see.
previews?
I have dabbled a little bit, yeah. I took some of the .NET 8 stuff off because I was having clashes, but it all works now. You can have side-by-side .NET 6 and .NET 7 and .NET 8. It all just works. Yeah. So for folks who are new to us or maybe using our bits for the first time, there are multiple ways in which you can get this. So if you head out to telerik.com, and if I head into my account here, I have multiple logins here, but this looks like the right one that I want to use. So this is all of my products, and you're going to see your products here. So you scroll down to Xamarin or .NET MAUI in this case. This is how you can go back in time as well. We don't recommend it, but if you want it, you could. So these are all the versions. Like you can see where we began. .NET MAUI 1.0 was May 2021 with the first GA of .NET MAUI. We have come a long way. It's up to 5.2.0 now. So we got installers for Mac, PKG files, or Windows MSI, or you can just get a zip file that has all the bits in it. So once you launch those installers, this is where it comes down to. So if I go into my documents, is where I keep it. Progress, and you can see that this is the MAUI installation 5.2.0. We got all the binaries right here. You got some examples and the NuGet packages if you want to, host it locally as well. Or a lot of you just use the NuGet packages that are hosted by us. So, that way you just get an automatic notification that, hey, your NuGet packages are updated, and then you go get the latest bits. So let me get into Visual Studio really quick and show you what this looks like really. So here is Kathryn. This is where Ed and me live. This is Visual Studio. It's a beast, but it's nice. It's a very nice IDE.
I have just started. I switched over to Visual Studio Code recently. Yeah, I'm trying to get my feet under me.
And VS Code. Speaking of that,
wait, what were you using before VS Code?
Atom.
Atom. It's based on VS Code.
Yeah. So it's not like Atom. A huge thing, but I had no need to upgrade, and I'm a creature of habit. I've been using Atom forever, and they finally officially discontinued support for it, and I was like, okay, I need to do it. VS Code. So.
Yeah. And for the team dev with Tim, I dropped a link into chat. Alyssa's having technical difficulties, but I tried to answer that statement.
Yes, data grids are really good. Sorry, Kathryn, go on.
Oh, no, I was just saying we have pretty good mobile support for the data grids in Kendo UI as well.
Exactly.
They're fairly well optimized, and there's a compressed view. I think it's called something else technically. I think compact view is what it's actually called.
That's where I dropped the link to.
Perfect. You were one step ahead of me. So yes, we do have support for mobile on the data grids in Kendo UI as well, including Angular. So, sorry, carry on.
No, I was going to say same for .NET as well. And it takes a little bit of finesse to do it right on mobile because you have such a small form factor. Speaking of VS Code, though, I did want to highlight this came out. This has been cooking for a while, but Ed and me are excited about this. For those of you who do VS Code and you want to do .NET, they have a new C# Dev Kit, which is, it's an extension, but it's a very elevated extension that really makes things like .NET MAUI or other types of C# code be a very good citizen on VS Code. And you can actually launch simulators. You can do debugging. So it's really, really very good. So it's out on preview. So early days, but the promise is there.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So this is an app that I'm showing you that's actually also in the stores. So you don't need to believe anything that I'm showing you. Get on your iOS or iPad or Android or Windows or Mac, go to the stores. You can see the same apps that I'm showing you here. This is the .NET MAUI app. So it runs on iOS, Android, Windows, Mac. I'm going to start off with the Mac here. So just start this up.
Can I use this with my Vision Pro?
Oh boy, WWDC happened, or maybe it's still happening earlier this week. Yeah, it's all AR, but is it really AR? Ed has opinions.
Pseudo AR.
Let's not get off track.
Easily get us through the rest of this live stream. Just talking about Ed's
if you get Ed off the ground here, talking
I have
about AR,
opinions.
He has opinions. Yeah.
I am cracking up. There's a comment like I forgot to prepare for light mode with your code editor in light mode. Now imagine that 2 inches from your eyes.
Yeah. We had our kids' birthday party recently, and it was like Star Wars themed. And we said, "Come on to the dark side," because like everybody loves dark side. We'll talk about some more dark side themes that we had. And we said, like, "Come over to the dark side. We have cake." So that was fun. But I understand I'm the only one here with light mode. I get it. I'm wasting pixels.
No,
I use light mode
Sam.
too.
I do too.
I think my eyes got old and will not tolerate dark mode anymore.
I've always been blind, Ed. My eyes were just like born old. Like
I get more eye strain with dark mode.
I used to be a light mode person, and as my eyes got worse, they got more sensitive to light. And if I stare at a bright screen all day, I'm way more likely to end the day in a headache. I had switched over to dark mode, not by choice, but by force.
The dark side often forces you.
Dark mode, you must.
Forced. But
yeah. So I do dark mode as well when I'm just by myself and I'm just looking at my screen. But I do think when we are sharing your screen like I am right now, or when you're presenting at a conference stage, I think light mode makes it easier to read.
That's probably true.
Yeah, Aztec, you and like literally everyone. I feel like everyone who I've ever talked to outside of, I guess, Ed and Sam are like, I don't know. Like I get often when I'm on stage booed at for my light mode. I'm like, hey,
that's so funny.
I mean, Sam and I get booed at too, but it's not because of light mode.
Just who you are as people.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh my gosh.
So folks, for .NET MAUI, we have a brand new calendar control. Works exactly how you expect it to work. It's fully customizable. You can have dots and stars, whatever you want.
Oh, it's so sexy. Look at that. Did you see that? That was so cool.
And the same calendar shows up as an iOS calendar and an Android calendar across different platforms. So brand new calendar control. You can have different types of cultures, display mode.
Can we clarify something about MAUI? I'm a little confused.
Go for it.
I heard a rumor that we support MAUI Blazor hybrid, or that we have MAUI Blazor hybrid components, but I'm like, wait a minute, that's different than MAUI components. Like I know enough to know that. So I'm like, what?
Don't take away my thunder.
Oh my God!
Our thunder, Sam.
Oh no! Did I totally ruin something?
No.
Wait.
We're getting to it.
Crossing streams on the.
Never cross the streams.
Oh, this is getting not suitable for work quickly. No, we don't want to cross streams. But speaking of UI,
supposed to be a joke.
check out the conversational UI. This one's hosted as the chatbot is hosted on Azure. This one's asking, hey, I'm a travel assistant. What type of time with friends, what type of vacation that you want? So I am heading on vacation late June with my 3 other friends here for 7 days. We'll go 4
Where
of
are we going?
us. I don't know. We'll get to choose.
Maui. Come on, guys. Come on.
Oh.
We don't have a Maui choice. We'll go to Spain. So these pickers, those calendars, that's what we can bring to the table. So this one's a nice little, way of seeing, a card view right inside of your chatbot itself. Travel arrangements, yes. This is all fake, obviously. Oh, look at that. Lufthansa is charging us $3,000 a person. Why not?
What a
We'll
steal.
go with that.
What a steal.
So you understand this is a chatbot, and all of this UI is what we can bring to the table. If you consider like a chat room, again, things like somebody is typing, different types of avatars, different ways of coloring things. All of that is what's part of conversational UI.
We're not going to Spain. We're going to go to Ibiza together.
Yeah. So again, put whatever you want in the backend, like ChatGPT or Azure Bot Service, whatever you want. This is going to work. You folks are having fun with the chat.
Can you explain this app to me, Sam? Does this app have all 60 controls?
Yeah. So this is a showcase app, so it throws in all of our controls.
So you're saying she chunky? Like,
well, no, it's still pretty performant. Yeah. So this is the new tree view. Again, it works exactly how you expect a tree view to work. So any type of hierarchical data that you have, it renders it and lets people walk through. So think about like an org chart with guns pointed at different organizations. It can visualize all of that. It's a tree view. What else is new? There's a new slide view. This is the one that has that left or right pointer, and you can slide through really quickly. Has virtualization built in. So think about very rich visual content. You can just throw it on in the carousel and call it a day. Navigation wise, it's nice. This is the rich text editor. So again, think about all of your tables, your charts, your images, your links, and your lists, all of that. You can bring it in. This is a very customizable toolbar. So you can choose what you want to install. If you want to have something custom, you can as well. You can import and export through docx, HTML, RTF, any type of rich text. We'll do that. So
I feel like we've come full circle, Sam. This is literally the component that sparked the whole company.
Yeah, in a way, and the grid as well. Yeah, so all of this is out there as a demo, so you can play around. And then somebody in the chat room was asking about the grid. Let me see if I can pull this up. Let's do an iPhone 14. Start there. It's going to take a while. I don't need you to build for Android. This is just for iOS.
Yeah, Sam has something against Androids. I don't know.
Yes, it's not Android, it's me. Yeah.
I'm with you. I also have someone against Androids.
It's just too much of a variation. Too much of a change. Anyways, so folks, same exact app. Now it's on mobile, and let's get to the data grid here. So somebody was mentioning in the chat room, like this is why we are conscious of rendering. This is the same exact grid, by the way, that shows up on your desktop apps, but this is much more touch friendly, right? Because you're using it on a smaller form factor, and grouping, sorting, everything works just in a different user experience because we know that you're doing this on a smaller form factor. So check out the same apps. This is all out on the iOS or Android, or Windows or Mac app stores, and the same things that I showed you, like the calendar views, they all work on iOS, Android as well. Just slightly different types of UX because now this is a native iOS calendar as compared to a native Windows calendar, and so on. So that's Dr. Maui. A lot of love been poured into this. Xamarin, we haven't forgotten about that either. Xamarin gets some of the updates from the data grid standpoint as well. Some of the new empty data grid empty templates.
Hey, Sam, in May, are we not going to ship any more controls to Xamarin?
In May, next year?
Yeah.
Okay, so what Alyssa is talking about is...
Guess we'll talk about this.
let's talk about this. You brought out the skeletons. Okay, so there is a end game here, end date in sight. May 2024 is when official support for Xamarin ends from Microsoft. Now, support ending doesn't mean the product ends, and we will likely support people for a little longer than what Microsoft will. But hopefully by this time you get the writing on the wall that, hey, you need to upgrade, right? So this is a good time for you to take a look at your app architecture. If something needs to be abstracted, move it out. If you have NuGet packages, that might be your biggest source of pain. If you have a dependency that just does not work on .NET 6 or 7 or 8, you're kind of stuck. And maybe it's time that you look elsewhere. If you have dependencies that are just not moving forward, maybe reconsider other ways of doing it. Otherwise, re-architect your app and consider ways of moving it forward. There are beautiful things now called .NET Upgrade Assistance. This will move your .NET MAUI or your Xamarin app forward into .NET MAUI world. You can take a look at some of the things that they do. They do all of the ASP.NET stuff. They do all the WPF and WinForms into the most modern
and I hear they don't. I hear it doesn't do like the upgrade takes care of like most things, but not everything. You still have to like.
Yeah. Do you want my own thoughts? So this is. It's a tool, okay? So use it at your own peril.
I feel like the way you just called it a tool was like an insult. Like, it's a tool.
No, I'm being unfair here because I know that folks like this is
actually quite impressive.
It is quite impressive, yeah. Now, just keep in mind that it's not going to be like do it all. Like, it's not going to do everything for you. In fact, there are certain cases where it's just a big change. Like you're making it a single project. Everything is an SDK style project. It's modern .NET, and they are very conscious of breaking things, right? So envision a Xamarin app that's been out in production for like 5 years. It's a very complex code base, and if you just bring in a tool, yes, no, that's actually true. Like you can rename a lot of the namespaces, then it starts working. But just be careful. Like it's your code base, and it's a big code base, and just be careful of your dependencies. Maybe start with this, and it's going to tell you like, hey, this is a folder we are not touching because we are scared of breaking things for you. Then that's the part you do by hand.
We had a speaker interview yesterday with Maddie Montecola from the team, and I was like, so what's with the end of life? Why are you doing this to people? And she was like, so it's the same team of developers, and if we wanted to like actually move forward with Maui, we had to like make time for it. And I was like, I gotcha. So.
Yeah, engineering is expensive for everybody, for us as well. Okay,
so I'm excited though. I feel like more people getting on Maui will make the ecosystem like stronger and everything that supports it stronger. So I'm excited.
Yeah. All right, now let's get to what you had mentioned, and we have a new landing page for that. And
you do? Are we on it? No, this is a blog post.
No, this is a blog post. Ed, do you know what the Blazor Hybrid landing page is? It's not linked here, is it?
Just had it up a second ago. Just had it.
The landing page.
Hang on a second. I will have it for you in just a moment. I'll post it in private chat, and then I'll post it in regular chat.
Yeah, these are all docs.
I've got it. Just check private chat.
It's all very hush-hush.
Okay, hold on. There it is. There you go. Is it this one? Yeah. Okay, so Blazor Hybrid. What is this? So this is kind of going into Ed's territory, but it's super fun what we have done. So let's start with Telerik UI, right? And we start with web components, and all of this is the web stuff. Telerik UI for Blazor is what .NET developers are the most excited about because it's C# front and back. And Blazor has been 4+ years in production. It is very solid, lots and lots of success stories, and it's a big component library. I think it's like 150 plus at this point. So take a look at all of this, like data management, scheduling, file uploads, different types of editors, lots and lots of data visualization, interactive UX, layout. All of this is meant for the web. And .NET MAUI brings in the promise that, hey, you can stick in a web view that's modern inside of your mobile or desktop apps and start rendering some web UI components. And we have always had people ask if all of this Blazor UI that we do now works on Maui, or yes or no. And it's always been, yes, it kind of works, but we are not, fully sure. We have to, check all the things. But we have now checked all the things, and the engineering team spent quite some time making sure all of the T's are crossed and I's are dotted. So this is Blazor.
I mean,
Hybrid.
was that a lot? Like, is
It
there
was a
actually
lot.
different? Yeah? It's
Yeah,
not
it
just
was a
like,
lot.
and I give you a dash behind your name, and now you work everywhere. Like, it
There's a
wasn't
lot
like
of edge cases we just had to check into to make sure things
I've
were working
never
correctly.
encountered a programming problem that's as easy as I'll put a dash there and everything will work. I want to know what you're building because I'm jealous.
Oh, so many dumb bugs. So many dumb bugs.
Here's the thing. So this is now officially supported by us, which means there is support kicking in. If you have issues using our Blazor UI, we are here to support you. So we are here also to tell you that all 100 plus Blazor UI components that we have, these are squarely meant for web applications. All of them now work on mobile and desktop with full support from us. So it's taken us a while to get there. Oh, who is this guy? I don't know. All of this
so
works.
If I want, and I'm like using Maui Blazor Hybrid, and I want like components, I just go to Blazor components, and they're all compatible now. Yes,
exactly. So these are all Blazor components. Exactly.
Okay.
I can show you something really quick, if I may. Here, close. Just a quick look at it. So take a look at the project structures here. So you start out with a .NET Maui project with the Blazor template. The one thing that's different here is if I look at the project file, it clearly says, hey, I'm a Razor type project, which means I can render Razor components. This is what you get out of the box with .NET Maui and Blazor together. And if you look at the main Maui program.cs, we are bringing in the Blazor web view. And then Maui page, main page.xaml, nothing new. This is all the XAML. I know they're in this chat room, like other than me, like the three other people here are all XAML haters because you are young. I get it. XAML is verbose and it's not fun. But for folks like us, like I'm used to XAML. I like it. But this is all the XAML that you ever have to see. This is a content page. It can be a tabbed page or any other type of page. And this is the only example you see. You throw in a Blazor web view and you point it to your index.html. Horrible. Yes, I like
those.
I think it was in reference to that joke, that dad joke.
Yeah,
but
was,
still.
Why does the Angular CLI require Python? I said it's mist snake.
Oh boy. Okay.
Dusty stick.
Oh, is this like a good example of a dusty stick moment?
That's a dusty stick moment.
Okay. I'm learning.
I've been trying to get the crew on board with the dusty stick emoji in Slack, and it's halting.
Fuel Snabble, I'm sure, has something to do with the history of it all.
Oh my god.
So anyways, this is all the XAML that you ever have to see. Throw in a Blazor web view, point it to one component, and be done with it. The one other thing that we're doing here is I'm bringing in Telerik Blazor. This is exactly the step that you do when you're doing Blazor UI, like Telerik UI for web apps. And if you look at my dependencies, I am bringing in any of the iOS or Android. I am bringing in the Telerik UI for Blazor, which is a NuGet package squarely meant for web applications, but it doesn't stop me because now it's a Razor project, so I can bring that in. And then index.html, I have the standard setup. I have some JavaScript and CSS that are needed by the Blazor components just for styling purposes, and that's it. In my index.razor now, in addition to all of my Blazor UI that's built out of the box, I can now bring in all of my Telerik UI. That's a barcode, that's a circular gauge. Think about a grid or a chart. Here's a card UI. All of that just works. So if I can just launch this really quickly, this is all Ed's territory, right? So all 100 plus Blazor components, they work.
Ed, when they made the changes, do you see them, or were they like behind the scenes changes?
I don't know if there were any changes that were required to the code base, but they were testing to make sure everything worked properly. If there were changes, they were transparent to the end.
So it's not like all your syntax was upheaved with this. Like it's
nope, nothing changed for anybody. No breaking changes.
No breaking changes. However, I will say, like, some of the edge cases have to do with what we do with the DOM, especially like how things are initialized and how we render this. Keep in mind that this just dropping these into a mobile or desktop app doesn't just magically make things, work everywhere seamlessly with good UX, right? So responsiveness.
I'm like, hold on.
No.
Hold on.
That's where the adaptive rendering comes in really handy is for this.
Yeah.
And, I think some of the edge cases with that is if you're mixing the native Maui UI with the, what do they call that? The web, Blazor web view, or if you have multiple Blazor web views, then
yes,
certain media queries that would normally trigger in a browser might not trigger correctly. So
yeah,
that's just the only thing that might be an edge case that I can think of.
Keep in mind, if I go back to Visual Studio here, this main page.saml, this one web view is what Blazor needs to render all of its UI components, its routing, its navigation, everything. There is nothing stopping you from putting a dozen web views on a single page, right? So just be aware, you are shooting yourself in the foot. Your performance is going to degrade because you're that many Chrome processes is what you're spinning.
Why
up.
would you? Is there a point to do that? Like.
No, but
in
there's
this
also nothing
one
stopping
use
you.
case, it is
You're so
acceptable.
preoccupied about whether or not you could. You didn't stop to worry about whether you should.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, whenever we have things that are responsive,
I too would like this question answered, Fuel.
It's an oversimplification, but yes and no. Vast oversimplification. You want to go with
it is a modern web view, and if the web is what sells your cakes, then that's
sells your cakes.
Yeah, and just do a web view. Bring in all of your Angular and React as well. Then Maui is a glorified web view, but with full-on platform API. You can do all of your platform-specific things within Maui as well. But to what Ed was trying to say, like if your Blazor components are responsive, like you can see here, they're going to be responsive within Maui as well. But you have to understand it's a difference in how you do it. It can be media queries if you are just straight up on the web, but Maui has its own APIs that's going to tell you, hey, I'm running on Mac, I'm running on iOS or Android tablets, and so on. So some of that you have to, play it by the ear and figure out.
What about like native? Like if you have like this control on like mobile, but I want to like hook into like whether it's like a native gesture or something. Like is that...
There is nothing native here, okay? Just keep in mind, this is Blazor. So all of this Blazor UI is just being exactly what Foolish Devil said. It's just one giant web view. These are all web components. And for you to respond to responsive things or media queries, that's where it comes down to. None of this is native, but it's just a way for you to reuse your code between web and, native apps.
Right, but if you're shipping with like a Maui Blazor hybrid app, that means that you could technically like use the API for like the hardware or for like native gestures and then like link that in to your app that is a web app, right? Like
exactly. Yeah. So Blazor inside of Maui can read and make use of all of the platform APIs and all of the platform triggers about size and so on. So maybe you have like if else statements within your Blazor app that if I'm on the web, do media queries. If I'm on Android or iOS, do the platform APIs, and that's how you respond to change. Yeah,
makes sense.
So should we talk about some of the brand new components?
Yeah.
Blazor?
I feel like I've been talking way too much because I get to go first, which is not something I'm encouraged to do on the webinars because Ed and Alyssa and Kathryn sell all the hot pieces. I get to be stuck with desktop.
Oh no, we love Maui. I think people like Maui a lot more than they like React.
Okay, Ed, hold on for just 1 second. Before I close the loop, before we go back to all things web, I got to show a couple of quick things on the desktop side of things. And these are also apps that are out in the app stores, so you can go play with this. This is WPF for those of you who build hardcore Windows desktop apps. So WPF apps, you can run on .NET 8. You can see I'm running on R2. We have a couple of brand new controls. This is a slide view. Again, same idea as on mobile, but that page count and then the left and right, they all just work. We have, what are the different types of themes? Hold on. I'm going to go to maybe a different one here. Let's go to a grid view.
Fuel said, does keyboard navigation work? Use your keyboard, Sam. Use your keyboard.
Yeah, I just don't know the shortcuts, but yes. And of course it works on WPF, but we're also very conscious of it on Maui as well. So when you're using a grid, even though it's meant for, Maui on mobile as well, but when you move it to Windows or Mac, we do support keyboard navigation.
Does eye tracking work?
That's Ed's department. It's actually really good, by the way. Vision Pro eye tracking is really good. Yeah. No, let's not get Ed started on this. We have a couple of new
Simply
themes
don't
here.
have time. In fact, Kathryn's got a hard out here in a few minutes. So we should
Oh, yeah,
jump some-
same. I do too.
Oh no!
All right. So maybe we do a quick shift over, and for the next 30 minutes, we'll hijack and talk web.
Wait,
Okay.
30 minutes. You can stay for 30. I can stay for 4.
Oh wow. Okay,
I thought you said you had a hard stop. Isn't that what you just said?
Yeah, hard stop in 4.
Oh,
Go
boy.
next.
Okay.
Why didn't you stop us?
Why did you stop us before?
Alyssa.
So we got some really cool stuff Kendo UI for Angular.
You're telling
There's
us now?
There's an Angular
Oh my
GDE
God.
meeting in 4 minutes, and if I miss like the first 10 minutes, the Angular
Go
team,
start talking about release things.
they like mean business. They're like bup, and that's all. So I might pop back in. You might see me again, but no. So we have the PDF viewer, which is our brand new component. Super excited about. Please sign up for the webinar. Do we have like a scrolly thing of like the actual webinar is we need to get one, but sign up for the webinar. We're going to be doing it. Kathryn and I will be there this Friday, and you'll get to see us playing around with that and a lot of other like features on controls. One is, let me show you. I was playing around with it. Present my screen, and we'll show this one. So I was modifying this bud, but basically this is just one feature added. But we now have with the drag and drop, which you can add to any control, whether it's like Kendo UI or your own custom control, but we now have drag containers and drop containers. So you like define that on an element, and then you can have as many drag targets as you want within that container. And so these are just little like divlets here, and they're cute, but they're all draggable because they're within this drag container. And then I'm actually working on some demos to show off the drop containers and there's a bunch. I think we have like maybe 12 or 13 features on existing components on top of the PDF viewer. So mine was speaking of hard stop, what? But no. Oh, yes. No, I love to see your face too, Aztec. Mwah. Yeah,
Did you say divlets?
Divlets. But
I
don't want to show too much of my slide deck. I really want to encourage you to come to the webinar and be me and Kathryn's friend. It's going to be a hoot of a time. So, but no, Kathryn, what do you got? Show us what you got. Mine was just quick.
All right.
Little.
Oh man.
Ooh, so sexy.
A lot of questions about divlets. I don't know what that is, and I'm not going to talk about it. That definitely seems like the candy you'd be disappointed to get trick or treating. So,
Love it.
just a bag full of divlets again from the cheap house. But no, we have cooler things than divlets for you in this release. We got the full-size candy bar of design releases for you this year. This is, I talked about it briefly earlier. We have a whole new design system documentations page. I'm showing it to you right here. I think we linked it somewhere earlier in the chat. But it's really fantastic. It breaks down everything kind of about what you need, and then it has some like really in-depth documentation around how to style our components, everything you need to do to style things, and then kind of breaks down your resources into resources for designers and resources for developers. I'm not going to spend like forever flipping through this, but I just want to show it off because again, the design itself of the documentation page is really cute and really well done. I think it's super intuitive and kind of breaks down, right? Like what goes into a design system and how can you use that and how does that line up with like our CSS variables and everything you need to know to interface to kind of use our component libraries as like a launching point for your own custom design system. And of course, all of this is done intentionally to work perfectly in that flow with like our Figma kits and ThemeBuilder and our available themes and like everything you can kind of take advantage of if you're trying to put together a design system from the ground up. So
Can you hit one of the usage tabs? I think we have some good like do this, not that type stuff in there too.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Look at that. Right.
That stuff's super helpful.
It's a really nice, just a great kind of breakdown of like things to be aware of and kind of easy mistakes to make. And yeah, it's just this whole thing is like a gold mine of information and broken down so it's easily jump throughable if you're looking for something specific. The design token stuff, obviously, like all of it, super, super great, and a ton of resources. So that was. Oh, go ahead.
Ask, like, can I use this on native apps, like mobile?
Yeah, I believe so. I'm not sure about native. I know we support pretty much anything, anywhere you can use the Figma kits and ThemeBuilder, you can use the design system docs. And I'm struggling to remember that exact list right now.
All of it's CSS based, Sam. So some of the fonts and white spacing and stuff you should probably be able to use within the context of like Maui, where CSS is supported, but then like layouts and things. Not so much.
Unsure. I will find out the answer though and let you know.
I went into a fit of coughing because like I'm recovering from a cold. You can't make me laugh so much with the divlets.
It's my job. Other cool stuff happening in the design world. Our Figma plugin, which I'm going to demo super fast. Basically, if you're using ThemeBuilder Pro, you can now grab all of these nifty little tokens, right, that are here. If you've got a Figma kit that you've customized, all of those can now be imported into ThemeBuilder, like super fast. So it's just as easy. I'll make a new project, call it Figma import. And I'll kind of open up this blank project here. This is a Figma kit that I have customized already. You can see like the buttons look a little different, the fonts look a little different. All of that in my quest eternally to recreate the Star Trek interface. But if I go,
chat room has a question here, Kathryn.
Ooh, sorry.
And I have a question.
Ow.
First up, can we just all first pause and talk about the fact that you're using Arc as a browser?
I like Arc a lot. I'm in. Fuel is just teasing me. He does this every time.
What is LCH?
It's one of the new color modes that will be supported in CSS. I believe right now the status is that it's supported in Safari and nowhere else. But now I'm curious.
Safari has support for something nobody else has support for? When did that start happening?
If you have it has actually been happening a lot recently.
So they're
it's well worth checking out, and especially though with the colors, because Apple is so invested in their high density displays, right? That like they want the colors to support that. Does Arc support zooming in? I'm so sorry. I should have done that. That was a fantastic call out though. Dang.
Completely different browser. Like how does it handle your like bookmarks or your other ecosystem? Like can it bring over anything? Or you have to start from scratch?
Yeah, it imported everything over for me from Chrome.
Interesting.
But so I know this isn't actually what we're talking about related to release, but just because Fuel checks in every time, LCH and Lab are supported. Actually, it turns out most places. So I was wrong. It's further along than I thought.
Can we write an open letter to Samsung to just stop shipping that stupid browser? Please, just make that not a thing anymore.
So, was trying to get Figma to zoom in, but it only wants to zoom the actual content, which I guess. So now I gotta remember where the plugins tab is.
Yeah, I think we were happily past the browser award
There it
days,
is.
but now it's back.
Yep. So I'm gonna run this quick export styles plugin. It'll prompt me to log in to ThemeBuilder, and then hop back over, and I'll say throw it in my Figma imports. It'll do a quick check. It'll select everything by default. Say, what do you want in there? And so this is every design token that's defined in the Figma kit right now. And I'll say, yeah, bring them all over. What do I care? It will run an export. And then when I hop back over and give this a refresh, all of my tokens you can see have been added here. So anything that I defined is now available to me, and I can very quickly hop over and start reassigning some of my values here to these Figma imports, right? So makes it lovely and quick and easy to take designs from native design software over into ThemeBuilder.
And what are these called? Like they're called tokens?
Yeah, so design tokens are a term that are pretty standard in the design world that basically refer to like the smallest piece of any design. So when you drill all the way down and you're talking about a single color or a single value, you know, or a font size or a padding number or a font.
Designers just basically reinvented the word variable.
That's not the... If... Ed likes to do this. Designers did it first. I don't think you guys, I don't think you're realizing that there would not be GUI interfaces without designers having done it first. You want to talk about grids? Grid systems were thousands of years old before we ever put one on a computer.
I think math might have come first, but we're all good.
Yeah, you weren't asking whether math came first.
I'm trolling as much as possible. You know that.
You are. Oh god.
Who makes Arc?
The browser company.
I was gonna say Noah.
Company called Arc.
Whatever.
What?
I was gonna say Noah, but whatever.
I love that this was just like half promoting Arc and half promoting what we're building. But yeah. So it's easy to move things over. I also like Arc quite a bit. I recommend trying both out, ThemeBuilder and Arc. Try them out together, even. So, trying to think I'm super distracted now. I'm like, other design release things. The mobile adaptability across a whole bunch of our components. Fantastic. We also have, we're making a switch over. Here we go. From font icons to SVG icons.
Oh, and rip less. Don't forget about that.
What?
less is bye-bye. No longer supported.
Oh, yeah.
Womp womp.
Got it. Rip like RIP on a gravestone. I was trying to make that into a verb, like to rip things, and was like, what?
So we dropped less support.
We dropped less support.
Less.
That's been a long time coming. There was a
Does
lot of
anybody
warnings.
use less at all?
That's why we dropped it. But yeah.
Okay, I have a question here. Tell me a little bit more about SVGs, which is like, scalable vector graphics.
Scalable vector graphics.
Right.
Yep.
What's the security implication of using SVGs? Like, why are they more or better than icons?
They're better because you don't have that same like import thing. So
I guess there's some kind of scripting involved to get the font
like
icons
cross-site?
loaded.
Yeah. So in SVG, right, everything is self-contained. It's all code that you've built directly in. Whereas with an icon font, you're fetching. So don't have to do that anymore.
This CSP thing is mainly used by government organizations. you can't have like inline code, inline styles, things like that. It's really, really restrictive. But it's all for security reasons. And font icons were one of the things on the hit list for that. So SVG helps get us to that CSP compliance.
Yeah. But the other truth is that SVG icons are going to, for the most part, function better for you anyway. They render better. They're clearer.
Across
They're
various
crisper.
form factors.
They do look better.
They look
They
better.
scale way better.
Yep. So you can still keep using font icons if you really want. But this is basically saying we're not right now like phasing out font icons. We're just moving away, so that won't be the default when you start using a component. So if you use one of our components and you select an icon, by default, it's going to be SVG unless you go in and reconfigure for it to be a font icon. But that's a good thing. That's a positive change.
Yeah, so SVGs are really great. One of the things Maui did was, between iOS, Android, Windows, and Mac, it's just such a wide variation. And when apps start up, you see a splash screen, right? And with an SVG, you can be just one and done because like it scales so nicely across, variety of resolutions.
Yeah. Yeah, and Fuel, I see your comment saying, fonts that have symbols that you use as icons. Yes, that's what we're talking about. Kendo has a font icon set that we've been using, and there's kind of been an option for a bunch of our components where you would get to go in and change. And I think font icons have been our default, and you could select over to SVG. All that this is doing is flipping that around. So...
Yeah, I don't know if this goes for React as well, Kathryn, but jQuery, I believe, and ASP.NET Core have specific templates now that are CSP compliant templates.
Oh, interesting.
So there are specific template components that
I don't think we have that, although we do. Frankly, there's just less of that kind of work in React.
Yeah, we don't have them in Blazor either because of the way that components are created. In Kendo for jQuery and ASP.NET Core and MVC, we have specific components now that are used as templates that eliminate this CSP security risk.
That makes sense.
And templates if this is something that you need.
Yeah, I think it's, like modern web apps that are really busy, like before you load up a CNN or, ESPN, like you are making 300 requests across a variety of domains. And I think that's what this is, trying to cut back on.
Yeah.
jQuery will always be with us.
It will always be with us.
Is fonts a thing with SVGs? Or
this is actually a really interesting question. So there's historically fonts have not, they've kind of been their own file type, right? You'll notice it's like a, whatever. There are a couple different types
OTF,
of font specific,
PTF,
right? Whether it's an open type font or I think WOFF, there's a couple different ones. We do have now what's called a variable font, and you'll see them if you go to Google Fonts, you can narrow down. Variable fonts are incredibly cool because instead of kind of moving in like set integrals, basically historically when you were creating a font, you were making like a version of a typeface in however many specific categories. So you might have like a light 100 weight and a mid 500 weight and a heavy 800 weight. And you could move, those were your options, 100, 500, 800, because those were how they were specifically designed. Variable fonts scale and allow you to set, if you were like, 500 is too heavy, but 100 is too light, I'm going to choose, 432. And they will allow you to shift. And some of them will let you change across different axes, right? So like when you look here, this one says variable on 4 axes, variable on 2, on 1, right? And that's allowing you to shift all sorts of like, trying to find if it'll let me. It's a great type tester. Right, so here's our variable axes. This one will let you adjust slant, sharpness, weight on a sliding scale. And those are working on technology that's very similar to SVGs. So the short answer is we do somewhat. They take a lot more design and development work. And so there's less of them. but they're really nice, especially if you're doing kind of international stuff, because they are super, super adjustable. So there you go. If you didn't know before, now you do. Variable fonts that will allow you to adjust all sorts of, you can see them, zoom way in. You can see little things change in the top here, changing the slant, but all on this, like, right? It's not like italics on or off. It's degrees of italicization or sharpness or weight in a way that's completely customizable. So
designers can argue over
we have found a way to
degree of
argue
slant.
over minutia since the dawn of time. This is
as if
only
arguing over
furthering-
white space wasn't enough. Now the degree of slant is brought into question.
It's
Cindy
really
is
cool.
No,
Oh,
sorry.
go ahead. I was
gonna
just
say-
still ranting about variable fonts because I think they're cool. I was like, it's really cool because these are animatable, right? So like you could
Yeah.
latch into any one of these and adjust them using CSS-based animations. So it lets you do some really cool typography stuff on the web. And I'm done. What were you gonna say?
No, hard to beat that. But more on the CSP, Cindy was dropping notes about our documentation that talks about some of the templates that
Nice.
Ed mentioned. Yeah.
Is Comic Sans supported as a variable type?
I don't believe so. Although I'm sure if you wanted to digitize that for posterity, the world would appreciate it. Who wouldn't want heavily italicized Comic Sans?
So on the Kendo UI side of the family, a lot of emphasis on design systems and
Yes.
theme builder and getting more flexibility of how you want to style your apps
Say on the web side of things.
on the website of things, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, we've learned that's a big piece of interest for a bunch of our folks, right? Is that they want to create something that looks custom, that feels different from other things on the web. We're kind of exiting this era of web design where, you know, every website looked the same. And there was kind of that running joke, like, yeah, all right, wherever you go, there's a logo top left, there's a header bar here, there's a large header image, there's 3 columns underneath, you know, and we're moving past that. And there's this desire to create sites that are interesting and unique, and to not have to build all of that from scratch, which is a ton of work. So doing something like using a component library as a starting point and customizing a bunch of your, you know, colors and fonts and weights, all of that can help you really stand out without necessarily having to build every single component from nothing. So.
Yeah, makes sense. Anything else cool, new in KendoReact world?
Yeah, we got a few new components that I think are quite nice. Let me jump on down. So I'll do like a speed run of this because I have to hop off in like 10 minutes. But we got a spreadsheet component. So basically Excel embedded into your applications. We have a context menu. So your right click kind of menus that pop up, allowing you to drill deep into nested menus. We have a timeline component, which is good for kind of setting organization of things, right? If you're trying to display changes that are happening over time, an upcoming roadmap, a company history, all that kind of stuff works really well with the timeline component. And then, of course, we have several enhancements to the data grid. Honestly, I think like this is how the context menu happened, is that we wanted to put a context menu in the data grid. And once we built it, we were like, this could be its own component. So several upgrades there. Yeah. A bunch of like little small tweaks that make things just easier to use, right? So I will go through each and every one of these in detail in the webinar. Save your seat. But that's kind of the big stuff, is right. We got those 3 big new components. There's also been some accessibility updates, which is really nice. I think that's something that's been prioritized across the entire suite of component libraries. So some updates there, I think, especially in terms of keyboard navigation and WAI ARIA support. So
The timeline looks nice. Do you have a timeline in Blazor, Ed?
Trying to remember.
Yeah,
We've
I would
got
love
it
to have
in
one.
Core and MVC.
Mm-hmm.
I remember remember if that came to Blazor yet.
I love that this always is, even when Alyssa and I are live streaming together, this comes down to like, do you have that? I just got this. Did you get this?
I remember demoing it before. I just don't remember what product I demoed it for. No, I don't see it on Blazor yet.
All right, next release.
Coming soon. Yeah. Oh yeah, and as always, I like to remind people that they can always check out. We have a roadmap for KendoReact. So if you're ever curious about what's coming next, you can take a look and see, and we tell you. We are here. Design system documentation, chart enhancements. We've done timeline component. It'll tell you when it's coming, in what release, and if there's anything that you think that we should have and we don't, also please tell us via the feedback portal, because that actually pretty significantly weighs into what projects we choose to tackle next.
Definitely.
So
our PMs read every one of those things, and we argue about what goes in and what not.
They print them out and fold them up and put them under their pillow at night.
Then the tooth fairy comes and puts teeth there in exchange. It's like a whole reverse psychology thing. It's very weird. But
no, it does not read and forget. We argue about it during the sprints. All right, very cool, Kathryn.
Yep, that's the highlights for me. Hand it back over to Ed.
Yeah, we left you with 9 minutes for all things Blazor.
9 minutes?
That's enough, right? You guys could keep going. Just because I have to leave in 9 minutes doesn't mean y'all have to leave in 9 minutes.
I feel very validated that I got to go first, because I'm normally the one rushing after Ed takes over all the time with Blazor.
I'm so glad we got to give you that experience. You seemed so genuinely joyful. You guys need to work out some kind of a rotating thing. Like, I'll go first R2, you go first R3.
No, Blazor. Nothing sells like Blazor, so it's Ed all the way.
We gotta keep everybody, hanging on for the big new kid on the block, Blazor, right? We actually got one brand new big component that like the FinServ financial services people absolutely love, and that is the pivot grid.
You guys just got the pivot grid?
We just got the pivot grid.
Wow, that is a big one. That's a huge component.
Ed
This is something
does Chrome do zooming?
This isn't Chrome. This is Edge.
Oh, this is IE6. Okay.
Edge. So
It's
I
still
gave
the
up
same
on
engine.
Chrome after it started giving me a bunch of
It's the same engine.
Wait,
performance
are you
issues.
serious? This is IE?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Edge.
Yeah, I couldn't stream with Chrome anymore. Something broke. My audio would not work with Chrome. So
I'll send you an
That's
invite
Edge
to
it
Arc.
is.
That's you. That's not Chrome.
So the pivot grid, I had to build one of these, and oh boy,
They're hard,
nice.
man.
It's settings with an extra T, because there's so much emphasis on settings here that we had to throw extra T in the mix. But actually, I had to build one of these like for a project in ASP.NET Ajax back in the day, before pivot grid like out of the box was a thing. I spent like
Yikes.
I want to say 6 months to a year just building this thing out. So hats off to the devs for getting this done in Blazor. And it has quite a few bells and whistles on it already. We will continue to add features to this like we do all of our components, but we've got quite a few things out of the box where you can drill down into fields, and lazy load all of those things in. We've got the collapsible settings tab. You can turn fields on and off, filter, sort, all of that from the columns and rows side as well. So you've got, that complete customizable, ad hoc view there. And then of course, drill down to all the different line items. If you're a finance guy, like this is the right component that you're going to want to display your data with, right? I have no idea what any of this stuff means, but I've had to build them. You know what I mean? We've all been there, right?
They're so wild. I took a deep dive into these when it came out for KendoReact, because I was like, what does this even mean? And every time I read the documentation, I was like, I clearly need to have an understanding of what an OLAP cube is before I can even begin to understand pivot grid. They're deeply complicated.
Yeah, when I was building one, they were like, well, we need the year to date, the quarter to date, the this, the that to date,
Right.
all the way across the top. And
They're
I had
like
to yank all this stuff on a
multi-dimensional
SQL.
spreadsheets. Like,
When I built it, it was before SQL had a pivot function, so I had to manually pivot all the junk too before it went into the view.
oh my
So
god!
that was a thing. It was a whole several year
I think I would have just
exercise.
quit. I think I would have found a new job.
If I did that, I wouldn't be here today. Talking about all of this lovely stuff.
Can this do an export? What Phil is asking. Like we do export to
let's see,
PDF
we
in Excel
don't
for
know
other
if we
grids.
have you can export raw data. I don't know if you can export from
Yeah.
the pivot grid itself at the moment.
The thing
But
with
we
these
have export
OLAP,
functionality just with
sorry,
DPL
I didn't
stuff.
mean to jump in. Like
No,
the thing
you're
with
good,
these
yeah.
OLAP cubes is that they work beyond just like a spreadsheet. So a spreadsheet is like two-dimensional, right? You have an axis and it goes down. OLAP cubes have like bunches of those, right? That's why they're cubes. They like go deep. So you can't export in a way that it would like open in Excel because there's more axes than Excel would support. But yeah,
Because you got
sometimes
all these drill down features
yeah.
as well. So there's multiple columns, I guess, that you're expanding out as you drill. And these are just simple drill downs too. Like I've seen these where they're like 10 drill ins deep. It's like grid within a grid within a grid almost.
Yeah.
Spreadsheet within a spreadsheet. They get pretty crazy. So this is something, and then templates, of course. This is mainly what I had to do with my project, was like display these high-low value things for finance. So I could have probably knocked out a 3-year project in half a year instead of building all this stuff from scratch.
There's a question in the chat asking if it's searchable.
Is it searchable? I don't know. We just released this today. I haven't got to look at all the documentation for it. I don't think search is there yet, though. I don't think it is. But again, like Kathryn said earlier, put that on the feedback portal. If we don't have that feature, then we could get that bumped up if it's something that you're interested in using. So that's the big sell for Blazor this time around is our
That's a really big one.
pivot grid. And we also have some nice updates to, a lot of financial services stuff in this update. This nice stock chart that we have.
Candlestick that I do not understand anything about what it does.
It's one of the things that we have to build for FinServ folks. Yeah, we don't understand what it is we're building. So we've got the ability to like shrink and grow the window of this report. And now we've always had that as part of the chart, but now you can move the location of that to the top or bottom. And then these labels are adjustable too. So we can drop these to like a 45-degree angle. In case that's something that we want, or even go like a full 90, although that makes it kind of hard to read, but they're customizable is the point. So you can totally customize those. Our window component got some updates. There's now a footer portion of the window component, and just overall, it's got some minor updates that make it a lot nicer to use. Let's see. We've got more things that we've got those rolling updates that we were talking about, Sam, throughout the year that you don't get. So there was a lot of stuff that dropped here. It's not highlighted. And it is on the main page. I'm trying to find that main overview page. Let's see if I can get it. There we go. There's all the updates. So if you look at the demos page, some of these have been turned off because they're not the latest release, but they're the latest major release. This has all of the stuff, including the minor releases as well. A lot of the date pickers got updated. There's, let's see if we zoom into one of these here. You can see these are the various updates that it has. There's some additional customization, step interval, start and end, stuff like that. Oh, right to the left is a big one. I think that hit all of the web frameworks. Is that true for you too, Kathryn?
Yeah, we had right to left support in a handful of components, but we did, I think like the tab component is the one that we got this time that we can now reverse the flow on tab.
So this got added to like a wide array of components.
Oh, you guys didn't have it
Blazor.
generally. I see.
Yeah, we didn't really have it at all yet. So we just got like
Gotcha.
this sweeping change of a lot of components getting. We might have had it for a few, but we hit like a lot this time. So right to left through almost all of the components, except for like a small handful of.
So nice
edge
for
cases.
internationalization.
And
Yeah.
this is very difficult to do by hand.
It's, oh man, to design something that will work equally well. I've been saying, like Ed's 3-year project. I've had to do that before from scratch, and it sucks.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be an overhaul. So if you look at the demos at demos.telerik.com, you can actually see some of these in action. And I think the form is one that's easier to see the value in this on. If I could find form, I always get lost in this. Where did we put?
I'm gonna sneak out while you guys
editor?
keep chatting. But it was so good to see you, and I hope I'll see the rest of y'all on Friday for the webinar.
John, Kathryn, and Alyssa on Friday.
Yes,
Our form component. Bye, Kathryn. Our form component got updated as well in a couple different ways.
Are you showing things on screen? Because like we are still looking at RTL support on your screen.
Did it go to another tab? Let's try that. It might have. Share screen. Component. That one. There we go. Yeah. So this is where you can really see the right to left take effect. So normally, you'd have your fields on this side and your labels on the left side, but in some languages you read right to left, so you could easily just swap those with one variable. And it also swaps out some of the UI stuff, so where the submit and cancel buttons would normally be, those get inverted as well. And then another thing that we updated with the form component in this release, this is really awesome, Sam. You can appreciate this is a .NET dev. Whenever you have a class in Blazor, you can use data annotations and generate forms and grids from those data annotations. So you don't really have to go in and write the markup for all of the fields in your form. So what we do is inspect the object that you're binding to. So this one's like person, right? We've got employee ID, name, error messages, hire dates, meeting dates, etc. And in the form, you're not going to see all of those fields. Instead, you only see the fields that are in addition to things that are in that that view model, and it will auto-generate the things that are in that view model. So you can mix, you can auto-generate, and then you can also add additional items that aren't in that view model for some reason, or maybe you need additional customization. You can toggle those off in the view model and just add them in what do you call it, explicitly. So you can mix and match now. So everything gets kind of emitted to this forms generated items component here that is in the model and auto generated, and then everything else you just put a form item on the form, and those things get mixed together seamlessly. So this takes a lot of busy work out of writing these views. A lot of times we're doing forms over data, and we can just plug in the class and let the form get auto-generated, let the grid get auto-generated, and move on to the next project, right?
Yeah, and the RTL stuff, like that's just a setting on each component?
Yep, it's a setting on each component, and I believe we have a way of setting that at the base component as well, so it'll affect all components. You don't have to go in and tweak those all individually. So we started adding some settings to the Telerik component base, so we can globally affect certain things in the components, and we can set these at the global level or the individual instance level of the component.
And since this is Blazor, so if you're doing Blazor hybrid and doing this same components inside of a desktop app, and then the one setting makes it all go RTL.
Yeah. Yep, works on Blazor hybrid as well. Let's see, what else do we have in the release here? Let me look at my notes real quick, Sam. I know we got some more stuff. This stuff's all hot off the presses, so I've got to look at my cheat sheet and see what was new. Oh, yeah, the map component. Folks on the dev team would probably not be too happy if I didn't talk about the awesome work they did on the map component. So the map component in Blazor, we got this a couple releases ago, but we updated the ability to do templates on the map. So you can see these weather icons are completely customized pins that we put on the map using the template. So if we jump into the code there, you can see we've got this map marker settings, and there's a template, just a little snippet of HTML in there to draw that out into the map and totally customize that. These maps are really complex things to build, and this just helps simplify the process a little bit more. And those maps, you can pull in like outside services and stuff to provide mapping data.
Yeah.
You mentioned we're compatible with .NET Preview out of the box. And one of the things that's in addition to that, like we get a lot of performance benefits from the .NET core itself. In .NET 8, they keep making things faster in Blazor. But in addition to, we've gone through again and revamped our data grid so it's more performant. So it's about 40% faster at refreshing the grid now than it was in the last release. So that's like a very significant improvement in the data grid, the tree list view, and the tree view components. So all the grid-based stuff is much, much faster. We're pretty happy saying that we're the fastest component on the grid component on the market for Blazor.
So Foolish Babble was asking about map projection. I'm not sure if by that you mean the mapping service. And so yes, it is something that you can switch around between Bing Maps and Google Maps and Mapbox and S3, any of the other services.
Another thing that got updated in this release is our file upload component and file manager component. So file manager got uploaded with the selection method. There's some new events in there as well. But in addition to that, let's see if it's under, it may be under its own component here. There it is, upload. We now have drag and drop upload. I don't know if we have, don't know where the demo for that is at now, but you can drag right into this space here, but there's also a larger drag and drop. It may be under its own component as well. Let's see, drop zone, there it is. So if you want a nice big drag and drop target, you can just add a drop zone to your file upload experience. And you can just drag files right into this giant box. So if you're building like a file repository, something like that, maybe you're backing that with like one of the Azure blob storages, your favorite file service, you can just add the drag and drop feature. So that's really nice. That's something that I use quite a bit in some different web services that I use pretty regularly. Let's see. This is all ASP, or this is all Blazor stuff. We have multiple updates in ASP.NET Core as well. And then it's also worth mentioning real quick before we move on to something else that Telerik UI for Blazor, we're deprecating support for .NET 3 and 5 in this release, or at the end of the year. So R1 2024, the first release next year, we're only supporting .NET 6 and above. Reason for that is first of all, Microsoft is dropping support for .NET 3 and 5. And when we move to .NET 6 and above, there's some additional features that we can take advantage of that are breaking changes from 3 and 5. So we wouldn't be able to support the two different versions with those features. So we're able to move on to some newer features of Blazor when we could move to the newer framework and not have to worry about supporting 3 and 5, which don't support said features.
Makes sense.
Let's see.
Yeah, we're already a minute or an hour and 40 minutes into the stream. So maybe do a recap of the.
You're interested in ASP.NET Core, maybe jump on the webinar. We'll talk about all the details, what's happening in there. If you're using tag helpers and HTML helpers and all of that stuff with MVC or Razor views, Razor pages. So we've got a lot of stuff that happened in there. A lot of it do with security, and you can see all of the updated and new stuff here on the demos page if you want to check it out before tomorrow.
Can you head back to the blogs page where we talked about all of the release highlights today?
Let's see here. Anything in particular you wanted to see here, Sam?
No, just trying to recap all of the things.
So Kathryn talked a little bit about the new design system stuff. We talked about having .NET 8 out of the box. The big announcement for Blazor being Blazor Hybrid support, supported for Blazor Hybrid. So again, this means that you can submit support tickets if you're using our components with Blazor Hybrid and you need help with something. That's what that means. So let us know if you're doing some Blazor Hybrid and run into any issues. Drop a support ticket, put something in the feature requests on the feedback.telerik.com. We've got the brand new Blazor pivot grid, drop zone, right to left support, file uploads. We've got some template enhancements on the data grid and tree list views. We improved some of the pop-up forms as well. So a lot of little nice things that we added for like quality of life updates, chart enhancements, etc. And then let's see here. It's getting into ASP.NET Core. We didn't get to talk about that too much.
Yeah, we'll do that tomorrow.
We'll talk about Ajax as well for the folks out there doing Ajax. And that's everything for web, Sam.
Yeah.
I don't know if this one has... I don't see your Maui stuff on this blog post.
No, this is just for the web stuff that you're looking at.
All right, let's see if I can find your other blog post there.
Just go to blogstufftoday.com.
There it goes. Is this the one we're looking for?
Yep. So it talks about the 3 broad themes and then dives into all of the details. Yeah, so a lot of goodness for Maui, Xamarin, and then, of course, WinForms and WPF. Yeah, brand new components been poured into WinForms and WPF as well.
Yeah, see PDF viewer in Maui as well. There was an update in the Blazor stuff for the PDF viewer to get a print function. So that was something new I didn't get to cover. We'll talk about that tomorrow too.
Yep. And all of the Kendo UI stuff is going to be on Friday.
All the Kendo UI stuff. Lots of updates there too. All right, Sam. I think that's all we got time for.
That's a show. Yeah. So bottom line is a lot of updates, a lot of love being poured into this release, trying to make developers more productive across .NET and JavaScript. So
take us out here with a quick video, Sam. We've got DevReach coming.
Yeah.
So just a quick reminder for everybody, go check out the DevReach website because we are back with DevReach. And it's going to be in Sofia, Bulgaria this year. So if you're over in the EU or you want to take a trip there, make sure you check it out. We'll go ahead and play this on the way out, Sam. Take care.
And, Foolish Nabble, Blazor, Mr. Magoo, everybody else in the chat room, thanks for hanging out with us. And hopefully we'll see you on the webinars over the next 3 days. All right.
Take care.